themselves briefly, so I don't take up the time. There's information with the bio on the announcement on the Meetup page for everybody. So if you guys can limit your introduction to maybe 30 seconds, and then we can get started. This is open to the audience to ask questions. We don't have any structure with this. We're talking about blogging and copywriting. So you guys know the core of it, which is copywriting. It is about making your business persuasive, writing well, being able to put your words onto your printed material, your website, your brochures, your emails. It is all about copywriting and putting yourself out there in the best light. And then blogging is kind of an extension of that. It's amazing that bloggers now have got White House passes. There's people that are allowed to go to major events as bloggers. This is part of our culture now. And as far as business culture goes, it's your best way to show people into your opinion and into your company. So being able to have a more conversational tone and be able to say, these are the things that are interesting to us. And through that, you can gain the trust and the knowledge that people need to do business with you. So it's really important, and it can tie into your SEO, it can tie into a lot of what you do. So let's start. Jeff, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jeff Bleen, and I have about 30 years of print and online journalism experience. Moved up here about 7 years ago from the Bay Area. And my wife and I publish a magazine called Sierra Food Wine Art. It's a free quarterly publication. And it has a companion website called sierraculture.com, where we archive and tag all the magazine articles so that when people search for the businesses and that we write about, they show up high in a web search. And we have a marketing arrangement with the Sacramento Bee, which promotes our website, and the Bee also republishes some of our magazine articles. We also have a multi-year contract to publish the Placer County Welcome Guide, which is the official visitor guide for Placer County. And we have a website that goes with that called visitplacer.com. And then we also manage the fledgling GoNevadaCounty.com website, which we've been able to grow the traffic there fairly dramatically from a relatively low base. But one success story we had this week, success is always measured sort of in increments, but we did get a Facebook post from a woman in Los Angeles who's going to be married up here in Nevada County, and she was sort of asking around about places to go and things to do and places to stay. And it's sort of a breakthrough for that website because we've sort of been able to get the reach not just beyond the region and to the Bay Area, but down into Los Angeles and San Diego. So thank you.
My name's Ron Bell. I started blogging back in about 2004, fairly regularly, and in chat rooms before that. I'm a realtor and also an internet marketer. That's on the professional side, but as far as blogging, I've done a lot of nonprofit work, anywhere from for my daughter's Girl Scouts and on up to Burning Man. For example, we got $170,000 last year donated just on probably 3 or 4 blogs that I did for him, using correct keyword optimization and frankly kind of steering people towards the blog and getting them to donate, and that's kind of what I'm up to. Thank you.
I'm Sheila Cameron. I moved here about 4 years ago. I'm a blogger and a writer and a painter. Before that I was living in Los Angeles, where I launched the first season of Project Greenlight with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and ran the online community and screenwriting contest, which eventually became a HBO television show and a Miramax film. And I was a co-producer of the HBO show and was an executive at HBO as well. And then I broke up with Hollywood by making fun of Tom Cruise. And I had a website called Free Katie, which became sort of a worldwide meme, and a lot of people understood it as the satire it was. Many people didn't, but that's okay. That's the internet. And then I really sort of took a break for a while and spent some time raising my kids, and reconnected back with my writing and my art through launching a blog here called Watching the Paint Dry, where I challenged myself to create a piece of art and writing every day for an entire year while still being a stay-at-home potty training mom. And so now I sell my work. I have message boards, I have blogs, I have been online for almost 20 years. Even though I was classically trained as a painter and a writer, I've been completely inspired by technology since college. and I really see the internet as another creative tool in my sort of medium to pull from. And that's what I do.
My name's Mike Moores. I have a company called, a boutique marketing agency called Wicked Good Copy and Communications. I don't blog. I write the pithy copy that you'll see on websites, catalogs, advertising. Pretty much you can visit the site wickedgoodcopy.com and you'll get a sense. My largest client is a loan origination software giant, and they're very generous to me and I love them, but the bulk of my fun work and the bulk of my clients are from the outdoor industry. The North Face, Keen, I also do some work for Discovery Communications and Gaiam. I also would like to say that I am a product of Sierra Commons. I've been writing copy for 20 years. I even had a kind of a corner office. And I came up here 5 years ago, and thanks to Sierra Commons and the peer mentoring I got there, I really was able to really boost my business significantly. So if no one has physically been there, I know a lot of you have heard it, but if you haven't been there, go there and check out the scene. It's a thing. It's on the address. You should know where it is.
I just thought you'd share that.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, it's at the top. It's at the top floor of Nico's Stone House. Just kind of come around the back, walk up the stairs, drop in during business hours, and somebody will show you around. It's a great little resource.
It's going to be hard to follow. I have not done anything as interesting as anyone on this panel. My name is Rosalie, and I started a company with my buddy Andrew over there, Smart Think Marketing. We thought we were very clever when we came up with that title. My background is, writing, copywriting. I worked at a zoo. I worked in nonprofits. But when I moved up here in 2006, I started to write full-time. That's how I paid the bills, so to speak. And then we took on kind of doing websites and kind of become more of a boutique type agency just to work with more people. And but writing is my pretty much my full-time gig for websites and for blogs.
Okay. I'm Jan Fischler. I've lived up here almost 20 years now. I mostly came from corporate communications. I had 25 years experience as a video producer and writer. I got really excited about the internet when it first happened. I've been writing for it ever since. My business locally now is Articles and More. I want to make my writing available and affordable to people like you who are sitting around trying to promote your own business.
Great, so we can start questions from the audience. I'm trying not to moderate, but keep your questions short and make them questions. If you want to, please address somebody specifically on the panel, or if you don't remember everybody's names or you can't read the name cards, point. So I'd like to open that up to who has questions about blogging and copywriting. Thanks.
Basic question, you know nothing about blogging, how do you start?
Well, I would say the first thing is make sure you really want to start a blog. I sort of call it that field of dreams moment. You know, when if you're sitting around thinking about why the internet needs another blog, that's the wrong way to go. The internet doesn't need another blog. You need to feel like there's this voice inside of me that is making me need to say something 2 or 3 times a week. And if you don't have that, then wait. Facebook or short pithy copy will help. You have to have that feeling that you really want to do it. Otherwise, you'll have a blog and it'll look like no one's home.
Right. A suggestion you might consider is look around at blogs that you find interesting and start posting on those blogs. Mm-hmm. That's a really good way to get the sense of blogging without the responsibility of having to do it all the time.
And typically you want your own server, so I don't know how everybody feels about GoDaddy, but I steer everybody away from GoDaddy, Bluehost or they're brutal. So you want to be on your own server, and most people use WordPress, but there's other ones, Tumblr and things like Blogger and things like that. I think most of the blogging community uses WordPress. Just make sure you just watch how many plugins you put in. Don't grab every plugin, because when you go to update, sometimes the plugins don't follow. So just keep it really simple with your WordPress. You can have your choice from 3 columns, 2 columns, or one thing. And also if you're just, frankly, WordPress works great as a website. I was telling Corey on the other day, for SEO purposes, a lot of times we'll release a 30, 40 page deep website in a blog format, so that works good for SEO. So you can use WordPress as a site.
I do several WordPress accounts, and sometimes the blogs are on pages and sometimes they're on posts. So which is the better way to do it?
Well, I post, and I'm sure a lot of these people do, just individual days, individual posts,
Your
because
posts, yeah.
you're adding content, you're adding pages, and for search purposes, obviously, they like that. Now, you'll get a lot of individual posts, you might get a long comment stream that you're gonna have to go back and keep addressing, you know. And that's another thing too, you've gotta ask yourself, do I wanna allow comments or not? And you get killed with comment spam as well, even though you got filters on it.
I think people would like to hear about the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org, and how people will use those two different platforms.
I'll take that. WordPress.org, if you're gonna host on your own domain, like, you know, mywebsite.com, you'd use WordPress.org. That's what they call self-hosted. If you're just going to, if you're not as committed or you just wanna use WordPress.com, you can use their software, you can use them as well. It's the same platform, however, your URL will be, you know, mywebsite.wordpress.com. You can't change the domain name. And you also cannot customize it to the extent that you can the .org version. So, because WordPress.com is free and it sits on the WordPress servers, they want to maintain control over, I haven't used one in a long time, but you used to not be able to use an opt-in box, like you couldn't get a newsletter sign up, you couldn't change the code. I spend a lot of time changing codes and things like that. So if you kind of want to dabble with it or play with it, WordPress.com is fun, and it's an easy way to see if you want to blog, but WordPress.org is what you would install on your web server, you know, with your domain name, as a simple, short version.
I just have a comment to make about that. You can have a redirect on WordPress.com, so you can purchase your own URL and have it redirect, so it appears to be your own URL. So
You can map, I'm sorry, you're right, you can map. I just, if you're gonna go to that trouble, for the features, I would recommend if you're gonna map it, you might as well do the .org so you have the full working version. And, but you're correct, if you know how to do it. Yeah, if you know how to do it, you can, but typically it's, you know, WordPress.com is typically in the URL. Everyone's moderating, just go
Yeah.
for it.
Okay. I can't see behind me. It seems like there's a lot of different strategies for selecting your categories. So I'm wondering if you just kind of talk a little bit about what kind of categories strategy you'd suggest.
Back up, what are categories?
Okay, so the blog is going to be on a particular subject.
Okay.
And each blog post, you can tag it by one or more categories.
Oh, okay,
So
right.
then those are going to show up in the sidebar.
Okay.
So if someone's interested in more information on X,
Right,
it'll show
okay.
all the posts that are tagged to that category.
Got it, okay.
And there's definitely a lot of strategies along that, and I've definitely been struggling with that on my new blog.
Well, I don't have an answer. I can only say that it's I'm really sloppy that way as far as like being organized in categories. But what I found is that as I was going through the categories, and I didn't fit into all of those because I would go to parenting stuff and it was all like, oh, like craft reviews of salad dressing and you know, like, and all the mom art stuff felt really super infantile. And then I would go to art stuff and you know, it was all, come to my thing in Brooklyn. I'm like, I can't go to your thing in Brooklyn. I don't fit in any of these things. And what I found was that was my inspiration for my voice, is that I didn't, you can find your niche in the internet by seeing what's not there instead of trying to jam yourself into what's already there. So at times, you know, in that frustration, sort of listen to it and then and learn from it and, you know, sort of build your own house. And that was a message that seemed to resonate with a lot of parents who are artists, that they didn't find a place to fit in either. So instead of me making myself something I wasn't, I just said what I was and people came.
You raise an interesting point because I took a trip to South Africa and I started a blog because I thought, well, it'd be easier than trying to email people about what I was doing. And the only category I selected was South Africa. And then I put my tags were what I was doing. So South Africa food, South Africa people. I mean, I kept it really simple. And this is my 4th blog. So it's been a struggle to get people to come to my other blogs. This one took on a life of its own. I mean, it was kind of crazy. I had people all over the world following my trip, and it wasn't. So I don't know, there's something to it.
Well, I'd like to, I mean, one of the great things I think about is, the end of Wizard of Oz. There's all the smoke and mirrors, and when they pull it back, his humanity is what made you attach to him. And the people still wanted what he had to offer, and it was even made more poignant because of his humanness. So, if you're out there and you're really trying to make everything perfect and keep your blog perfect and make sure that everything's copyright protected, and then you're just going to feel really kind of uninspired, and the people that visit you aren't going to be inspired. It's okay to sort of walk through the restaurant with toilet paper on your shoe every once in a while, because people repost that on the internet.
Yeah, I was more thinking about it in terms of from the reader's perspective,
Right.
and making it easy for them to, because you can read the About page to get what the blog
Right.
is about, and another way to really understand what a blog is about is to look at their categories
Right.
and see
how
how did they categorize
take
their
the social
information.
marketing and emphasize the social, not the marketing. Look at it like you're going to a party, and you're having good cocktail interaction chatter. And if you walk into a party and say, I'm here to talk about insurance, and I'm here to talk about, and everyone's like, oh, very nice, and they'll kind of walk away. But if you have an interesting, compelling story, and you tell your interesting, compelling story to 3 people that have thousands of Facebook followers, that's going to get you farther than, I think, the keyword, or, you have a deeper connection, with good, poignant chatter than I think with fretting too much. I mean, it's important, and there's people that seriously know how to do it, but I think the copywriting part of it is, find your voice, and the keywords will come later.
Does anyone use Google Analytics?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
suggest.
It's a pretty simple product, and you should try it. It's a lot of fun because you can see who's coming to visit your site, and lots of different metrics that can help you choose the categories. Just go to NevadaCounty.com, for example. We turned on the Google Analytics and saw a lot of people were searching for gold, basically. So we built a whole page basically on gold panning, gold history, lots of information about that. And it's helped traffic on the site. So, try the Google Analytics, whether you have your own blog or a blog for your business, and you'll kind of get an idea about some trends.
If I could just add to that real quick. So when you're blogging or even a site, there's a human side to it, and then there's an SEO side to it. So you got to ask yourself, am I either or, am I a combination of both? So you go to Google keyword tool, and you would just simply go, for a cat site, for example, you type in cats, and then it go, okay, it'll tell you, okay, there's obviously cats at the top of the long tail, and then you got cat breeding, cat grooming, Siamese cats, and da-da-da. So depending on what you want to do, there's your categories. And then you got a good mix of search. And then you have something like how you stumbled on popularity. You're going to have some popularity following you. And you can see right now, even when you type into Google, it starts suggesting for you. So a lot of times you don't even need to go to keyword tool anymore. It'll just start suggesting words for you.
You bring up an interesting point, because a lot of times when I'm writing for a client, I'm working more on the topic and the interest, and then I go back and I look at the keywords. If I start, I'm just trying to talk about what's interesting, and I always am thinking about who's their target market, who's my target market, who are these people? And I've even gone so far as to look online and say, well, I think my target market looks like this person, and I make up who they are. And I think that's something we forget about. We get so sidetracked into keywords and what we're trying to do that we forget we're talking to other people, and we want to have a conversation.
Humans first,
Yeah.
SEO second.
Yes.
My blog posts show up on Facebook, and I get more comments there than I do people actually coming to the blog. Is that bad?
Well, it depends on what your business model is. If you're selling advertising on your blog, then that would be bad. But if you just want to get your message out, I think that's good. I love Facebook. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's great. The web is all about collaboration, and if people comment on Facebook or on your blog, you know, it is an issue though if you're trying to, you know, make a business out of it.
Yeah.
And you can shut that off, of course,
Yeah.
that's an option.
Yeah.
I had a question, and it's something that I've spoken with. How would you describe the differences between categories and tags? Because, you know, when you're blogging, you can tag your post, you can categorize your post. What's the difference? How do they complement each other?
I always thought of the category as being the bigger picture and the tag being underneath. So the category is like Roman numeral 1, and then the tags are ABC if you were outlining something.
I think of it as like there are two different ways for people to find your content. I mean, and anyone else who wants to jump in here. I look at it like a tag. People will find posts that you've, you know, written that spaghetti, you know, tag spaghetti. It's a way to organize it for people to find it. And then I look at the categories as I'm thinking like a search engine. You know, there's different ways people can find it. And if you're if you've got categories and then tags, it's almost like categories big picture and then the tag is a smaller detail, level detail. And search engines see your permalink, period. You know, they see your URL. So they can bring visitors to your site based on either one of those.
Thank you.
Great, and back to
I have absolutely no idea what a blog site is or anything like this. It's totally brand new to me. And I'm wondering how writing a blog translates into money to pay your bills.
I would start blogging.
How does that work? Because you
Well,
pay your
yeah,
bills through.
Yeah,
money you make through
90% of my real estate business comes from my blog. Now, I'm kind of a pimp for keywords too, you know. So, yeah, you know, so it's almost kind of deliberate. If you know anything about keyword optimization, look at my blog and go, oh my God, this guy's off the charts. A normal person wouldn't notice it. So yeah, I think just in the last year I've had 93,000 visitors to my blog alone. Okay, now my YouTube channel, which I work hand in hand with, so on my YouTube channel I link back to my blog and vice versa, so it's all interconnected. So I got a hub and spoke model on all my social outreach. My YouTube channel had over 1 million views last year.
Oh, wow.
So the blog brings a lot of the YouTube view, brings them to YouTube, the YouTube brings them back. And guess who loves that?
Yeah.
Google, or any search engine, because they love to see you cross-pollinating, and you create your own link sharing farm when you do that, you know.
And I,
What's a blog name? What's a blog name?
Well, my main one is Reno Home Voices, or you can just Ron Bell Realtor.
And on Meetup, we have everyone's bio with links to their websites, as well as we're going to take some notes of this and post it into a discussion on the Meetup forum. So take notes as you wish, but you'll be able to find everybody here when we go to Meetup.
Now, real quick, so if you're going to get a lot of traffic, you need to have capture. So you need to have a squeeze page, you know, like download your free report here type of thing. We've all seen that, and try to get their email address. But give them a lot of stuff for free. Don't just ask for it right off the bat. See, that's been my issue. They've been coming to the buffet and eating for free.
yeah.
So we want them now to start leaving a business card.
And, you know, I sell art, so it's really hard to make money selling art anyway. But I feel like what my blog does is, you know, when somebody buys a piece of your art, they're buying a piece of you and your process. So when you invite somebody into your world and you share your process and what it all means to you, then they become invested in your work. And it becomes a much more meaningful art buying experience for them than it would be just getting it on eBay or even walking into a gallery. They can, you know, one of the best things I've ever seen is people who I don't know refer to me as their friend, the artist. And I am your friend, the artist, you know, because you see my life every day and you see me struggling with this painting and then I say, boom, it's done, and somebody's been following it for a month and they can put it on their wall and tell the story of how it came to be, and that's just a much deeper connection, yeah, from an artist's point of view.
Yeah, the blogging is really effective, I think, for artists. Are people familiar with Kathy Ronsky, who does the dog art? Some really good art that she does. But on her she uses her Facebook page as well as her blog. But you know, she sort of tells a story about each dog that she draws, and you know, said like, you know, Fido's going home now, and she'll run the photo of the dog with her painting. And it's really sort of a neat way of telling a story because, as you say, you know, artists really want you to understand a bit about their personality because you're buying it and putting it in your home.
I'm hearing everybody say, and I get the feeling that this internet marketing, which I've been involved in for probably too long, is maturing. That's hard to say to some people, but so where's it going? Where do you all individually think the next big step is? Talking to my contacts at Apple, they have opinions. I'd like to hear what you say.
Well, from an art standpoint, when I see what the kids are doing these days,
Right,
it's amazing how it's almost kind of regressing. You know, when you look at their blogs, they are just a blank page with just blank, you know, maybe a few links with, I mean, no graphics, and they are like, hey man, here, I'm just doing this. You guys do all that flashy stuff, we're just keeping it real. And it's amazing to see what the kids today are doing and the work that they're putting out there that is free and is entertaining. And I would say that would be a message I would take to anybody who's doing internet marketing, is that know that your competition out there is giving away just amazing work and entertainment for free and not asking for a thing. So,
You know, they might
you
find
can't, that's what I'm saying, just be aware that you better bring something,
I
Yeah.
just found an article, and it was April 23rd in USA Today, and the headline is, "More companies quit blogging, go with Facebook instead."
Yeah.
So, and they're saying with the emergence of social media, more companies are replacing blogs with nimbler tools requiring less time and resources, such as Facebook, Tumblr, and Twitter. So yeah, there you go.
And I also see it, Brian, I see it getting a lot more visual, just, you know, just
pictures.
with Pinterest, you look at a lot of WordPress templates that are available now, they're Pinterest knockoffs. And you know, just the availability and the ease of video and Instagram, it seems to be a lot of photo sharing.
Yeah.
Less words, which is a blessing and a curse.
What's the impact of Siri with the, you know, you speak into your iPhone and it tells you that's inappropriate? Anybody experiencing that as a way of communicating for internet marketing?
I got a new iPhone and turned it off actually, because every time I got a voicemail from someone, I put it to my ear and it asked me how it could help me. So I turned it off. So some of that technology, it gets a little ahead of itself, I think. You know, I agree with the...
When you say that, one of the focal groups at Apple's Dan has actually got that feedback, and so they are modifying the software. So this is why I'm throwing it out. You know, this is a tool that's coming, and you know, I think blogging personally is a pain. You know, I don't blog anymore. I don't follow anybody anymore. There's too much crap out there that I have to read before I get to the meat. So if that's me experiencing, how are other people experiencing? I think it's effective in marketing, but we all have to adjust to the changes, and the changes are happening rapidly.
And I think with the people that have grown up in this era now, they don't see the internet and technology as the separateness. They see it as it gets us closer to our humanity. It helps us connect with more humans. It makes it more, it makes the world smaller. It doesn't make you alienated. And I think a lot of times people get really mixed up when they say that, you know, technology today is just keeping everybody away from each other, and there is a magic to the technology. And there is a magic to how things happen on the internet that the younger generation just takes for granted. And so I think if you can remember that you are being invited to a party, and don't bring anything to the party that you don't feel like sharing. I mean, you can bring your bottle of wine and say, this is my wine, and you can't have any of it, and I'm going to put my name all over it. Well, okay, maybe nobody will take your wine, but they'll be like, geez, you know, don't, you know.
He's probably selling insurance.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just think that I think the next wave is the humanity and the vulnerability and being honest and being who you are.
And collaborating
And
with your market. And this is very important with social, but it's also, you know, as web pages become more social, allowing it to be a discussion, allowing it sharing the wine.
Yeah.
And taking criticism and, you know, being real. And I think people are, especially as people who, you know, I think a lot of us, when we were born, there was no internet. A lot of people who have been born for even a while now have always had an internet.
Yeah.
And they're beginning to use it as a way of conversing.
I want to share a story. I wrote a book a couple of years ago, and I took a whole bunch of courses on how to promote my book, and some of them worked and some didn't. And I finally just got fed up, and I thought, I'm going to just start blogging. So I have my website for my book, and I started a blog based on how to write a novel in 100 days or less. And it was a bunch of prompts I found, and so, okay, I'm on now. I've written day 78, and but I'm posting 3 times a week. And all of a sudden, I'm connecting with people, young people. Because I'm just talking about, all right, here's the prompt, and sometimes I share something I'm writing, and sometimes I just share my frustration or what I'm not writing. And I've got these people from all over, and most of them are young kids. So I go back and I look at what they're writing, and it's so cool. Because, how many young kids in their 20s would be chatting me up on the bus, or at a coffee shop? But, here we are, we're having this great conversation. So I'm seeing firsthand, now, my plan is, okay, I'm going to start writing the book, and when I write the book, I'm going to put it up there too, because I'll have a fan base, they'll actually be reading it, and maybe commenting and cheering me on or booing me, I don't know what. But I just love, what, I guess it's the synergy of it.
It is, and it's also, just remember, it's a web. It's not linear. If you try to put linear ideas on it, you're gonna feel frustrated, you're gonna feel the frustration of the people who are living in a web. So if somebody posts something on your Facebook page and you don't particularly like it, again, at a party, you don't go to the hostess and say, kick this guy out of here. You can graciously just ignore it and it'll drop away. The people you alienate by trying to control it in a linear way will do more harm than if you just sort of let it go. And you're going to have crazies on the internet, but I definitely, I've met the craziest of them all, and they...
No, I have.
But I would just say, and I'm sure you can agree, you argue with the man in the tinfoil hat, you both look nuts. Just move on,
But if
You
it
win
is
for
a
metaphors so
legitimate,
far. Tinfoil hat. Come on, writers. Pick it up.
but if they're wearing a nice hat and it's a legitimate point,
You could say-
it's not just an opportunity to engage; it's a necessity to engage.
Yes.
Otherwise, it just looks like you're ignoring the people who are there to help you and work with you. And you're going to learn something, and you're going to look like the good guy.
And they're invested. They've been published on your
yeah.
site, so they're coming back.
Yes.
They are invested. You got them. They put something on there, even if it's nuts. They're yours.
And you can turn them.
And you can turn them.
The great thing about blogging versus Facebook, you get a nut on your Facebook, it's for everybody to see. You have no control over it. What I'll do is if I get a nut on mine or somebody really negative, I'll volley it back and forth behind the closed door in the comments section. And then once I've got this guy tempered and go, wow, I see your point now, then I post it. Right? If he's still a nut, then I don't post it. So a lot of times I'll volley it back and forth and they go, wow, Ron sure handled that good and was a good statesman about that, and so people enjoyed that. And so
Ron,
that's a
can
good
you
way to do
explain
it.
how that works? Because some people may not know that you don't have to have a comment published right away on your site.
Correct.
Can you explain
Yeah.
that?
So when you're in your WordPress dashboard, it'll go, you've had 1,700 comments today, right? And maybe 100 of them got through. And of those 100, maybe 1 or 2 are legitimate, right? So you got to go through and, not the guy that says, hey, you're so great, da da da. Usually it's the guys that are adoring you that are comment spam. But you'll get the 1 or 2 that are this or that. So I can decide at that point to publish it or not, But if it's somebody negative, I can volley it back and forth behind the closed door in my dashboard, and then publish it, and then hit.
Is that an email conversation you're having with them?
Yeah, I have a conversation with them in the back door there. Yeah, and then at that point I'll publish it. Yeah, and again, you don't have that option in Facebook.
I'm actually...
To follow up on that question, do you block everybody or allow everybody, or is there a granularity between the two extremes?
99% of the stuff is comment spam, okay? And it'll catch most of that. And then...
So the software catches it?
The software catches it, yeah. And that's built into WordPress. And then, but it still gets through. And then, so of that, you got to go, okay, you go through there, and maybe 1 or 2 are legit. Now, keep in mind I'm doing this for business, so I want to sift through theirs. If you're just talking about art and stuff like that, you might want to just shut it off because it is a pain in the butt. Yeah, art, yeah, no, but you know what I'm saying, because I'm looking for that guy that really wants to buy something so I can turn it around into money. No, what I'm saying is if it's just something that's not for profit, you might want to just shut it off.
So you do have to filter everything.
Well,
The spam filter picks a lot of stuff, but you have to filter the rest?
Absolutely, by your own eye,
Right,
because,
yeah.
yeah.
But I also would say that depending on the topic you're blogging on, I blog for, or I share blogging duties with a doctor, and he writes about some pretty, he makes a lot of people mad. He makes vegans mad, he makes vegetarians mad, he makes smokers mad. I mean, he's very controversial on purpose. And so I'll go through and look at his dashboard, and there's some crazy stuff on there. And short of a death threat, we allow the comments because he will have a public conversation with these people. So I would say that if you're doing this for personal, you know, that's one thing. If it's your profession, you might have some policies in the office you have to deal with. But I encourage negative comments. I mean, I think it's fine because, you know, I'm not blogging for a one-way platform. I'm not broadcasting. I want to have a discussion, and sometimes my mind can be changed. Or even if my mind can't be changed, we might be able to get some resources back and forth. You know, sometimes people get really upset about, really mad about things, and they'll actually go as far as like cite resources and reports and this and that, and it's a chance to educate. So, I mean, obviously, depending on your blog, I encourage negative comments, and I don't take it personal. I mean, we didn't put up a blog so that we could just broadcast and advertise our business. We put up a blog so that we could have discussions. So sometimes, I mean, it depends on your policy, but we get nasty stuff sometimes, and, you know, as long as there's not a porn link to it, most of the time it goes, you know. And you can also edit out links, edit out links. You can edit a comment, leave it for content, but take out like any links, and we do that a lot too, so. David's had his hand up.
Well, a little bit. If you wanted to monetize your blog site, your blog page, and say, for instance, you did not have a business that you were blogging for, it was just a page that you were going to blog about your particular interest or topic, is there something other than affiliate marketing, say, for instance, your links to products or service, your campaign, or banner advertising on those your blog sites? What other methods would you use to monetize your blog site?
I'm on two different ad networks. One is Clever Girls Collective, which is, they do mostly sponsored ideas. So they'll say that you have to apply for it, and then they include you in it, and they'll send out opportunities for, you know, this new, you know, Skinny Girl Margaritas wants people to review it. You know, we'll give you $100 if you drink it and review it, and you can say whatever you want about it, but you have to blog about it. The other one I'm a part of is called Blog Her, which is mostly female-themed blogs, and they serve banner ads, and they also offer sponsorship opportunities like that as well. And you know, I can maybe buy a Starbucks with it. Like, there's not that much money from it, but you know, you know, I'm in a gallery locally and nationally, but I sell most of my work, you know, through Facebook, just connecting back to my blog and people finding that investment. So I have those opportunities up there, and I usually don't apply for that many of those sponsored things, because that's just a little bit of a conflict and kind of a pain for me. So, you know, while I'm sitting there trying to figure out, you know, this review, that I'm not painting, or I'm not spending time with my kids, or I'm not writing about what I want to write about. But there are lots of niche ad serving companies out there that are willing to work with you, and they don't necessarily need you to have tens of thousands of people visiting your blog. They have demographics that their advertisers gave them that they're really, really specific. They drill down in really specific ways. So it's dog lovers who drive Toyotas who are 58 to, you know, 63. And you're like, oh, that's me, you know? So that sort of mass niche world of online advertising, there's a lot of money out there. And so I would encourage you not to, you know, try to worry too much about fitting in a bigger niche. You know, do what you love and own it, and people will want that. I think.
And of course, Google Ads too, but they put competitors' ads on there. Is the problem. So if she was to allow Google ads on her site, she'd have another artist selling stuff right there, so you kind of, and like she says, pocket change.
I had a question about the time commitment. How much of your life are you putting? Because obviously you're going to be painting, or you're going to be, selling real estate or whatever. So this is kind of not just one person. But I just wanted to get an idea how it, factors in. And then I guess it's not just blogging, because there can be YouTube or integrated with Facebook and all that. So.
I'd like to know just individually how much time you roughly spend a week, a day, blogging.
Well, I have a personal blog, and instead of reading the newspaper like I used to do for many years, with my wife, we sit down at the computer, get up early, and I do some blogging and read the paper online. But then I start my day job, around 8 o'clock, and I could spend, 3 hours maybe, something like that.
A
But
day?
really, it's a pretty efficient way to reach people. If you're good at it, you can cross promote some of the things that you're interested in telling people about, and you reach a good demographic. And if you think about trying to do that in the old world, it was sort of hard. I mean, look at this as a room full of people that are now publishing their views on the internet for their business or for their personal whatever your motive is for a personal blog. It's sort of a neat thing, especially in these small communities too, where you sort of open up a whole new way. And I'm glad John's here, because really it's sort of a neat way to grow our community in terms of economic development.
At first, it's like a new toy. If you get into it, you're going to do it a lot.
Yeah.
I now do about an hour a week on all my social marketing. Whether it's YouTube or blogging or Facebook or whatever, just to kind of keep it fairly focused. And another thing too, if you're talking with the SEO perspective, if you see somebody else showing up on the first page of Google on some of your search terms, then you start blogging your butt off and using keyword optimization and start pushing them back. Once your blog, by the way, gets a high page rank in Google, you feel like Superman. I can blog about a restaurant, I can blog about a friend's dog grooming business, all of a sudden he's right on the first page just because I gave him a shout out. It's really powerful. It's pretty amazing how it works. So that's kind of cool.
Me, please.
No different than if Huffington Post was to give any of us a shout out. It would put our business on the top page, so it all gets on the page rank.
Well, I have message boards that were born out of Free Katie, and that ended up on the front page of Google. On their Google News, and so I'm hesitant to give that up because it's just millions and millions of people came there, and so I spend time with that community. I have a Project Greenlight community that's on Facebook as well. Those are people that I connected with that are still part of that community. But for my blog, I would say maybe 1 or 2 hours a day. When I was doing it every day, now I probably do it 3 to 5 times a week. And I walk my dog for a half an hour, and whatever seems to be bubbling up that I'm thinking about, whether it's, permission slips or, the biennial in Venice, I don't know, whatever I'm thinking about, I'll just write about it. But I keep it short. I have maybe 1 or 2, I would say, big blog posts a year, and that's usually about something that's really sticking in my craw, and then I'll just say it. But usually it's maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs about where my head's at or what I'm working on, and that's it.
Again, I'm not a blogger, and that's by choice. However, there's the obligablog, the obligatory blog. I do it about once a week. I found I'm having some success with kind of do-it-yourself copywriting tips for people. So I probably spend about an hour a week. And I did lie, I do have a blog. During trade show season for the outdoor industry, there's a big obligatory trade show called Outdoor Retailer, OR, and one year I decided not to go after going for a decade and became the guy not at OR. And it was a huge success, and I was able to link back and forth, but that's seasonal. But within my community, it's quite a little phenom. I went this past winter, and people were disappointed. But I still found a way to not be there. But circling back to my specific business, I try to get something up there once a week just to kind of keep people engaged, and I try to do it in a way that is something that will engage them, that is giving them something. And if I find something cool, like the Japanese retailer that had a copywriting fail because I'm going to use some language, but their sign said, "Fucking big sale." So when I find something fun, I share it.
That's the toilet paper on your shoe.
Yeah.
You know, like that. So we didn't really blog for ourselves per se because I unattached our business blog from our website because I was guilty of not keeping it updated. So the worst thing you can have is an abandoned blog. It looks like you've gone out of business or you're in the hospital or something awful's happened to you. So I detached that. But when we've got clients that require copywriting, I mean, I have one, the doctor that I share blogging duties with, and we have 4 to 5 posts a week, but that's because he has a lot to say. And how long it takes him to write those, I don't know. It takes me, depending on the topic, a good couple hours because I do research and links and all that. Most of my day, however, is on Twitter. I'm all over Twitter, 8 hours a day, 1, out of bad habit, and 2, because I don't get clients from, typically, you know, we're in marketing, and it's not that different from the insurance guy who shows up at the party. As soon as you say you're in marketing, everyone's like, you know, they're not excited to see you. Maybe people in this room are, but typically the response I get in the real world is like, oh my God, she's a marketer, she's going to want to sell something to me. So I go on Twitter, and I don't tweet for our company per se, but my obnoxious too much TMI, too much information self, and I make connections with people and have friendly conversations, and then they like me or don't like me, find out what I do, go to my website, and then they're like, oh, hey, can you write some content for us? Or hey, we're looking for a blogger. Or so a lot of my time is not spent on content creation as much as it used to be. Now it's kind of just being an absolute idiot and 140 characters or less on Twitter, and it's come back to us. So really, I'm writing all the time, but I'm just using different mediums all day long.
Yes. So I do a little bit of everything depending on what my objective is for the day, but when I was trying to promote a book, I spent a lot of time on Twitter because I was trying to connect with adoptees, and it's kind of an invisible population. And so I started connecting with adoption agencies and then birth moms, and they're more identifiable. And then, so it was great, and I was driving a lot of traffic to my site. But I felt like, okay, my message was by my book, so then I had to start talking just about adoption in general, and that's how I got an article on Huffington Post, because I just want to show you the trail here. So there was a bunch of political stuff going on with gay adoption at the time, and it really pissed me off that there were some people who didn't like the fact that if you weren't a heterosexual couple, they didn't think you'd be a good parent, and that just annoyed the hell out of me. So I wrote a very good rant, and I sent it into the Post, and they published it, which is great. Well, then suddenly I got every gay community being my friend on Facebook and being, you know, following me on Twitter because I was. So that was not my intention, but all of a sudden I went, wow, this is pretty cool how people make a connection with you. So. Then I stopped tweeting, and I stopped getting traffic to my website, and so that, let me tell you, I'm going to be back tweeting again.
So I tweet about stupid stuff. It's not about business. Yeah.
To me, it's interesting to just get to know people. But I write on my writing blog. I write an hour every morning.
The reason I asked is just briefly is because you all are writers. You apparently love to write. I would rather probably have a root canal than write.
That's why we're for hire.
You know, well, but that's my point is, you know, what kind of time I would not even start. I would hire, absolutely. So it's just curious to me how much time you have to invest in it. What, as someone who would hire you, what kind of time commitment would I expect, you know, to keep something ongoing? And I'm sure that varies significantly,
Yeah.
you know, from business to business, but that was my curiosity.
I wanted to, you know, I've kind of been looking for an in for this. One thing that's very important that hasn't been touched on yet is don't suck at writing.
Yeah.
Copywriting. That's the other half. We've got 2 minutes.
Know how to write. Learn how to write. It's okay if you make conscious grammatical errors, and it's just be conscious. Know how to write. That's going to be the most important thing. If you suck at writing, you're going to look. That's a lot of toilet paper on your shirt. You're going to have your pants down. People are going to see it.
And I would just say one little tip that I always use for myself when I'm writing copy on my blog is be aware of saying, you know, I think, I feel,
yes.
I feel. It's like, well, this is your blog, so if it's on there, of course, this is what you think or feel. You know, pick a different word. And then also, if you find yourself saying, you know when you, and you know when you, and then you should, and you should, and you should, don't assume anything about the person that's coming to visit you. Don't say who, you know when you think that. You know, just really kind of pare it down, make it clean, get clear with your thoughts, and you know, just put it out there as kind of concisely and elegantly as possible. That's my tip.
Google Ernest Hemingway's 4 Rules for Writers.
Yeah.
Just Google those when you get home, and follow them.
Yeah.
So guys, we're at almost 12:25. So I want to leave some time for networking, and also so you can approach the panel and ask them what other questions, and you can do that. Machen, you have your hand up. I want to get your last question, as it seemed like eager, and then it's yours to take over from there.
Yeah, just one question, Mike. With the writing, how important is it to have the hook in the headline of whatever you're posting? Whether it's
That's why it's a headline.
Yeah, headline.
In my world, yeah, for whatever you're posting.
I'm just
or,
saying maybe help these folks really understand the power in the headline versus the content.
I will tell you how when I write a page, I think of little bite-sized nuggets of copy. And the first thing that's going to get them to taste that nugget is that headline. So you want to say what it is, you want to be impactful, you want it to be short, and you want it to be bold, and it's also going to help your SEO, but optimize it for humans first. And don't explain, engage. I was talking to somebody really quickly today, and he was wondering about a headline, and I'm like, make a list of the 4 most important things that this copy is about, and make each of those things a 1-word sentence. Boom, boom, boom. That's what's going to get people that, you know, they are judging the book by its cover, and that's the cover.
I think creatively, you know, again, it's like with art or any kind of art, you know, when you know the rules, then you're sometimes allowed to break them and turn them on their ear a little bit. I mean, Picasso knows how to draw a beautiful face, but you know, he pushed himself a little bit farther. And you know, for when I launched my blog, every headline I kept thinking of just felt like this cliche, and then I felt like, well, everything you say about motherhood feels cliche, like, oh, they grow up so fast, and you're like, but you know, when it's happening to you, it feels like an epiphany. You're like, oh, now I get it, you know? And so my blog was 365 days of art, motherhood, and cliches, and so every single one of my headline was a cliche that now gets searched. So people say, you know, what is killed 2 birds with 1 stone, and then they come to my blog and they read a little essay about, you know, killing 2 birds and getting stoned.
On that
And then they think, well, who is this person? You know, so that's so, you know, a writer would say, don't use cliches, don't fill it up. And I kept fighting against that rule. I'm like, well, you know what? No, I'm going to own this, and this is what I'm going to write about. So,
classics are classics for a reason.
yes, this is true.
But they've already been written.
I know.
I really want to thank this panel. This is, I'm not to put you guys down, exceeded my expectations. You guys are amazing. This is something I didn't know, that we're going to have this great flow of conversation, and it worked. So we're going to consider more panel discussions, and also I really want to thank you guys. So I'm going to have a round of applause.